The morning was cold and unforgiving, with a sharp wind cutting through the thin walls of Emma Wilson's small apartment. Outside, the grey skies of the coastal town seemed to mirror her struggling spirit. At 28, Emma carried the weight of countless responsibilities, her dreams tucked away like forgotten photographs in an old drawer. Jack, her 6-year-old son, sat quietly at the kitchen table, his small hands wrapped around a chipped mug of hot chocolate. He watched his mother move with the practiced efficiency of someone who had learned to survive on minimal sleep and maximum determination. Emma's uniform was pressed, her hair pulled back tightly, showing no hint of the exhaustion that lived deep in her bones. 3 jobs. That was what it took to keep their small world turning. The morning cleaning shift at the local hospital, the afternoon waiting tables at the seaside cafe, and the late-night data entry work she did after Jack went to sleep. Every penny counted. Every moment was a battle against the rising tide of bills and unexpected expenses. As she packed Jack's lunch, her fingers trembled slightly. The medical bill had arrived yesterday, a cruel reminder of the challenge that had been hanging over their family like a dark cloud. Jack needed a specialized treatment, something that seemed impossible given their current financial situation. "Mommy, are you okay?" Jack's voice was soft, filled with a wisdom that seemed too mature for his young years. Emma forced a smile. "Everything's fine, sweetheart," she lied, her voice steady despite the storm of worry inside her. The walk to Jack's school was their special time. Despite the early morning chill, Emma's hands remained warm around Jack's small fingers. They passed the same streets, the same shops, the same lives that seemed to move so effortlessly while she struggled. At the school gates, Emma knelt down, straightening Jack's jacket. "Be good today," she whispered, kissing his forehead. Her son's eyes were bright, innocent, unaware of the financial mountain they were trying to climb. After dropping Jack off, Emma rushed to her first job. The hospital corridors were long and silent, her cleaning cart moving methodically from room to room. She worked quickly, efficiently, her mind constantly calculating. School fees, medical bills, rent, food. During her lunch break, tucked in a small staff room, Emma pulled out a worn dance magazine. Years ago, she had dreamed of becoming a professional dancer. The photograph of a graceful dancer seemed to mock her current reality. Dance was a luxury she could no longer afford, a passion buried beneath survival. The cafe shift was always the most challenging. Balancing plates, managing customer demands, maintaining a smile. It was an intricate dance of its own. Each tip was a small victory, each kind word a moment of relief. As evening approached, Emma collected Jack from his after-school care. Her body ached, but her smile never wavered. They walked home, Jack chattering about his day, about a drawing he had made, about a friend who shared his lunch. "I want to help, Mommy," Jack said suddenly, his small hand squeezing hers. Emma's heart broke and mended in the same moment. How could she explain the complex world of adult struggles to this innocent child? That night, after Jack was asleep, Emma sat at the kitchen table. The medical bill lay before her, a paper representation of her greatest fear. The amount seemed impossible, a mountain too steep to climb. But Emma Wilson was not someone who gave up easily. Her life had taught her that challenges were just opportunities, waiting to be discovered. She looked at Jack, peacefully sleeping, and knew that somehow, some way, she would find a solution. The clock ticked past midnight, another day of survival completed, another night of hope beginning. In the silence of the small apartment, with the distant sound of waves breaking against the shore, Emma allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. A single tear rolled down her cheek, not of defeat but of determination. Tomorrow would be another day, another chance, another opportunity to prove that love, resilience, and a mother's unwavering spirit could overcome any obstacle. The night embraced her, a quiet witness to her unbreakable resolve. The community center stood like a beacon of hope against the grey winter landscape. Its brick walls had witnessed countless stories of struggle and triumph. Emma had walked past this building countless times, never imagining it would become a turning point in her life. The job posting was simple: dance instructor needed for children's afternoon program. Emma's heart skipped a beat when she first saw it. Her fingers traced the words, memories of her abandoned dance dreams flooding back. Could she? Should she? Jack noticed the change in his mother's eyes that evening. "You look different," he said, watching her carefully while stirring his soup. Emma's hands shook slightly as she prepared her application, years of self-doubt battling with a spark of hope. The application process was nerve-wracking. Emma spent hours perfecting her resume, carefully highlighting her limited dance experience. She practiced her introduction in front of the bathroom mirror, Jack watching with curious eyes. "You'll be amazing, Mommy," he would say, his belief in her stronger than her own self-confidence. The interview day arrived with a biting, cold wind. Emma wore her best outfit, a simple black top and pressed trousers. Her hair was neatly pulled back, her hands clasped tightly to hide their nervous trembling. The community center was warm, filled with the sounds of children's laughter and distant music. 3 people sat behind a long table, 2 women and an older gentleman with kind eyes. Emma felt like an imposter, her dreams feeling too big for her small life. "Tell us about your dance experience," the lead interviewer asked. Emma took a deep breath. She spoke not about technical skills, but about passion. She talked about how dance had been her escape, her hope, her dream. She shared stories of how movement could heal, could transform, could give hope to those who felt lost. Her words were raw, honest, filled with the kind of truth that cannot be fabricated. The interviewers exchanged glances. There was something special about this woman. When the interview ended, Emma felt both exhausted and strangely light. She had been completely herself, vulnerable, honest, hopeful. Days passed. Each morning, Emma checked her phone, her email, hoping for a response. Jack would ask, "Did they call Mummy?" His excitement matched her own uncertain hope. Then came the call that would change everything. "We'd like to offer you the position," the voice said. The words seemed surreal, hanging in the air like a beautiful dream. Emma's first reaction was silence, then tears, then a laugh that bubbled up from deep within her soul. That evening, she and Jack celebrated with a special dinner, cheap pizza from the local shop, but filled with more joy than any expensive meal could provide. Jack jumped around the small apartment, proud of his mother in a way that only a child can be. The salary wasn't much, just enough to help with some bills, to provide a little breathing room. But it was more than money. It was a chance, a hope, a possibility. Emma's first day teaching was a mixture of terror and excitement. Children from various backgrounds filled the small dance studio. Some were shy, some were energetic, some were clearly dealing with their own hidden struggles. She remembered her own childhood, her own dreams, the moments when dance had been her only escape. As she began to teach, something magical happened. The children watched her, not just with their eyes, but with their hearts. Her movements were not just technical, they were storytelling. Each step, each gesture carried the weight of her own journey. Jack would sometimes sit at the back of the studio, watching his mother transform. He saw her become more than just a tired worker. She became an inspiration. The community began to notice. Word spread about the new dance instructor, who seemed to do more than just teach steps. She was teaching hope. She was showing children that their dreams were valid, that their struggles did not define them. Emma realized that this job was more than employment. It was a calling, a chance to help others find their path, just as she was finding hers. As winter slowly gave way to the first hints of spring, Emma felt something she hadn't felt in years. Possibility. Real, tangible possibility. Her journey was just beginning. The dance studio became more than just a room with wooden floors and mirrors. It transformed into a sanctuary of healing, a place where broken spirits found their rhythm. Emma watched as each child stepped into the space, carrying invisible weights of struggle and pain. Tommy, a quiet boy from a troubled home, moved with hesitation during his first class. His movements were tight, controlled, as if dance was another set of rules he needed to follow perfectly. Emma noticed how he watched the other children, always keeping a safe distance. Sarah, a girl with learning difficulties, struggled with coordination, but what she lacked in technical skill, she made up for with pure unbridled joy. Her smile could light up the entire room, her spirit breaking through every physical limitation. Emma's teaching was different from traditional dance instruction. She wasn't just teaching steps, she was teaching expression. Each movement became a language of emotion, a way to communicate feelings too complex for words. During one particularly challenging class, Tommy accidentally knocked over a stack of chairs. Most instructors would have scolded him, but Emma saw the fear in his eyes, the anticipation of punishment that went beyond a simple mistake. "It's okay," she said softly. "Mistakes are just part of learning." Those simple words seemed to unlock something in Tommy. His shoulders relaxed, his movements became more fluid. For the first time, he looked like a child enjoying himself, not a boy constantly preparing for criticism. Jack would often sit at the edge of the studio, watching his mother work her magic. He saw how she transformed lives, not through grand gestures, but through small, meaningful moments of understanding. The community center began to notice changes. Children who once struggled with confidence started walking differently. Parents reported improvements in school performance, in social interactions, in overall happiness. Emma's dance classes became more than just exercise. They were therapy. Each child brought their own story, their own pain, their own hope. She created routines that allowed them to express emotions they couldn't verbalize. One afternoon, a social worker approached Emma after class. "What you're doing here is remarkable," she said, watching the children pack up their things. "These kids are healing in ways traditional therapy couldn't achieve." Emma felt both proud and humble. She understood that her own struggles had prepared her for this moment. Her journey of survival was now helping others find their path. The winter months slowly gave way to spring. The studio became a beacon of hope for children who felt different, who felt lost, who felt like they didn't belong anywhere else. Sarah, the girl with learning difficulties, created a dance routine that brought tears to everyone's eyes. Her movements were imperfect, but filled with such genuine emotion that technical precision seemed irrelevant. Tommy began to smile, really smile. The tight, controlled boy was slowly transforming into a child who understood that he was valued, that his mistakes didn't define him. Emma realized that her dance instruction was about more than movement. It was about rebuilding broken spirits. Each child was learning that their body could tell a story, that they had a voice worth hearing. Jack watched his mother with growing admiration. He saw how she transformed lives, how she turned pain into possibility, struggle into strength. The community began to talk. What was happening in that small dance studio was nothing short of magical. Children who had been labeled as difficult, as problem cases, were finding themselves through movement. Emma's own healing intertwined with her students' transformations. Every routine they created together was a metaphor for overcoming life's complicated rhythms. She was teaching them to dance through challenges, to find beauty in imperfection. As spring blossomed outside, something beautiful was blooming inside. The studio. Hope, confidence, understanding. Emma would often stand at the studio's window after class, watching the children leave. Some walked with new confidence, some with newfound joy, some with a spark of possibility in their eyes. She understood now that her greatest choreography was not on the dance floor, but in the lives she was helping to reshape. One step at a time, one child at a time, she was creating a symphony of healing. The dance continued. The hope remained. The transformation was real. The small coastal town began to notice something special happening at the community center. Word spread quickly about Emma Wilson's dance program, a whisper that grew into a conversation, then a celebration of hope. Dr. Richard Henderson, a local physician, first heard about Emma's work through his daughter, who volunteered at the community center. He watched the video of Sarah's dance performance, the girl with learning difficulties who moved with such incredible spirit, and felt something shift in his understanding. Jack's medical treatment had been a constant worry, a dark cloud, hanging over Emma's life. Dr. Henderson called her one quiet afternoon, his voice warm and understanding. "We can work something out," he said, offering a reduced rate that felt like a lifeline. Local businesses began to take notice. The small bakery on the corner started donating snacks for the dance classes. The bookshop owner offered free dance, books and music resources. The town's hardware store provided materials to repair the studio's worn dance floor. Emma's transformation became a community story. People who had never spoken to her before would now stop and smile, would ask about. The dance program would share stories of their own children finding hope. The local newspaper ran a small feature. Dancing Through Challenges, the headline read, with a photograph of Emma and her students. Tommy's story was highlighted. The quiet boy who had found his voice through movement. Fundraising became organic. Parents started spreading the word. People who had no connection to the dance program would drop small donations at the community center. $5, $10. Each contribution was a vote of confidence. Jack watched his mother with growing pride. He saw how her passion was touching lives, how her struggle was becoming a source of inspiration for others. At night, he would ask her to tell him stories about her students, about their breakthroughs. The local council took notice. They saw how Emma's program was doing more than just teaching dance. It was healing a community. Discussions began about expanding the program, about creating more opportunities for children who felt different. Sarah's parents approached Emma after a performance, tears in their eyes. "You've given her something we couldn't," they said, their voices breaking with emotion. Their daughter, once isolated and struggling, now moved with confidence. Volunteers started appearing, college students, retired dancers, local artists. They wanted to support the program. They saw something special happening, a magic that went beyond traditional teaching. The studio's walls began to fill with photographs, moments of joy, moments of breakthrough, moments of children discovering themselves through movement. Emma's financial struggles began to ease, not because of a massive windfall, but through the small, consistent support of a community that had recognized her value. The medical bills that once seemed impossible now felt manageable. Dr. Henderson's reduced treatment plan for Jack was more than just a financial relief. It was a symbol of community care, of people looking out for each other. Winter slowly gave way to spring. The town seemed to bloom alongside Emma's dance program. Children who once felt invisible now felt seen. Parents who had lost hope now saw possibility. Jack would help his mother set up for classes, arranging chairs, preparing music. He was learning more than just dance. He was learning about compassion, about community, about turning struggle into strength. The community center, once a quiet building, now buzzed with energy. Laughter echoed through its halls. Children who had once been labeled as difficult were now celebrated for their unique spirits. Emma's journey was becoming something larger than herself. It was a testament to the power of believing in people, of creating spaces where everyone could belong. One evening, as she packed up after a particularly moving class, Emma realized something profound. Her greatest dance was not the routine she taught, but the way she was choreographing hope. The town had embraced her, not because she was perfect, but because she was real, because she showed that transformation was possible, that pain could be turned into beauty. Her story was no longer just her own. It belonged to the community now, a shared narrative of healing, of possibility, of unexpected grace. The dance continued, the hope remained. The community held her, lifted her, celebrated her. The annual community performance arrived with a sense of anticipation that filled the local hall. Every seat was taken, every corner packed with expectant faces. Parents, friends, local officials, all gathered to witness something special. Emma stood backstage, her hands slightly trembling. Jack sat nearby, wearing a proud smile that could light up the entire room. The children moved around her, a mixture of excitement and nervous energy filling the space. Tommy, once the quiet boy who barely spoke, now moved with confidence. Sarah, the girl with learning difficulties, practiced her routine with a determination that took everyone's breath away. Each child carried a story, a journey of transformation. The lights dimmed. The music began. What unfolded was more than just a dance performance. It was a narrative of hope, of struggle, of unexpected triumph. Each movement told a story, of children who had found themselves through dance, of a community that had learned to embrace differences. Sarah's routine brought tears to the audience's eyes. Her movements weren't technically perfect, but they were filled with such pure joy that technical precision seemed irrelevant. She danced like someone who had discovered her own magic. Tommy moved with a grace that shocked those who remembered his earlier hesitation. His routine spoke of transformation, of breaking free from invisible chains of self-doubt. Emma watched from the side, her heart full. She saw more than just dancers. She saw survivors. She saw hope in motion. Jack's eyes never left the stage. He understood something profound about his mother's work, that dance was never just about steps, but about telling stories that words could never capture. When the performance ended, the applause was thunderous. It wasn't just appreciation for a dance routine. It was a celebration of human potential, of the power of believing in oneself. Dr. Henderson was among the first to approach Emma after the show. "You've done something remarkable," he said, his eyes reflecting genuine admiration. The reduced medical treatment for Jack had been more than just a financial help. It was a symbol of community support. The local council representative approached, discussing possibilities of expanding the program. Funding discussions began. Opportunities emerged. What had started as a small dance class was becoming a movement of its own. Jack hugged his mother tightly. "You're amazing," he whispered, his words carrying the weight of everything they had been through. Emma looked around the hall. She saw the children who had transformed. She saw the parents who had found hope. She saw a community that had learned to embrace differences. Her journey hadn't been about becoming a perfect dancer. It had been about finding her purpose, about helping others discover their own strength. The evening continued with celebration. Parents shared stories, children laughed, the community came together. Emma realized that her greatest choreography wasn't on the dance floor. It was the life she had created. As the night wound down, Jack fell asleep on a chair, exhausted but happy. Emma covered him with a jacket, watching him with a love that knew no boundaries. Her phone buzzed. Messages from parents, from volunteers, from people whose lives had been touched by her work. Each message was a testament to the power of believing, of not giving up. The medical bills that had once seemed impossible were now manageable. Jack's treatment was progressing well. The dance program was growing. Life had its own beautiful rhythm. Emma understood now that success wasn't about perfection. It was about persistence, about love, about turning challenges into opportunities. Looking out the window, she saw the first hints of a new dawn. The town was sleeping, but the hope they had created would continue to shine. Her dance wasn't just movement. It was a narrative of survival, of unexpected grace, of the incredible potential that lives within every struggle. Jack stirred in his sleep, a smile playing on his lips. Emma knew their journey was far from over. But for now, they had found their rhythm. They had found their home. The night embraced them, a quiet witness to their incredible journey of hope and transformation.